Diksha from Tsunami. I lead marketing, and you keep getting emails from me now and then. Find me on Discord, and I know some of you as well. Today's event, we chose a topic that we really felt the need for after cohort zero of the hackathon, that how can you actually build ideas or projects that can grow beyond the hackathon, and how does Tsunami really play a role in this, and where do we come in, and why we believe in this journey from hackathon to fundraise. So we will start with a short introduction by Christian, our CEO at Tsunami, and then we have a guest speaker today, Piotr. I will also give a brief intro with him, and we will have an AMA. I'll be asking questions, but throughout, please, all of you, feel free to share your questions in the chat, and I will try to add your questions as we are talking to Piotr. Also, when you want to speak, please raise a hand, and you can directly ask questions to both Chris and Piotr throughout the conversation. So let's make the most of this 1 hour. It's not easy that you get times with investors and VCs to ask all these questions, whether they are in your personal journey, your project, or whatever you're looking for. And can't wait to get started. So, Chris, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Diksha, for the introduction. It's very nice of you. Hello to everybody. Really happy to have you all here. Yeah, we are very excited to be sort of starting into the next hotter phase for us, which is our cohort 1. And I mean, I will prepare a longer presentation in the future. Today is more of an explanation, what is this all about? You might ask, what is Tsunami about? What is the difference to, the usual venture builders? When I started Tsunami, it was really during COVID, and I saw it was remote. It was a totally different feeling of starting a company. And I think we all live in a remote world, in a more remote world. People really tend to work from home, love to work from home. And I see that this is more and more also important in starting companies. And what we said, why isn't there anything, any platform that helps you to develop the ventures? And we've started cohort 0, where some of you joined, which was great, but we still believe we could sort of do a next level better. And we, for cohort 1, we will add some new formats, but the overall goal for cohort 1 is to get you all funded. I think that's maybe the clear goal for us, and I want to describe the process for you to get funded. And, I know it's quite difficult to get funding out there in the market, but, there is, we want to build this platform that you can, without investing a lot of money, with the help of your co-founders, develop a venture to a level, where it is ready to get funding from other investors or from us. And there will be different ways to do this. So first of all is, obviously we like teams of 2 to 4 people. Yeah, at least 2. You cannot be a single co-founder. So you will need to have some sort of co-founder on your team. Ideally, you are not 2 salespeople and you're not 2 developers. Ideally, you're a team where one person is good at something and another person is good at some other thing. So that would be the first thing to do. Find a team. Secondly, we need an idea. Yeah, I mean, what is it about? Is it about Web3, AI? This is these 2 technologies are sort of our focus, but you can look at the categories of the hackathon, and we will develop this further, probably also with partners, to add more categories where you can show your excellence. So we need an idea within the team. Or if you don't have an idea, you can just look at the projects on the platform which are already there. Yeah. If you don't have your own idea, it's also possible we will come up with a program where experienced entrepreneurs, think and start their own project and be present in the beginning of the hackathon, and help you sort of guide through the idea finding process in the beginning. There we will announce something pretty soon, probably tomorrow. So that is the overall approach. Find a team, find an idea, and then it's obviously important to look, do you have in your founders team everything for the hackathon? If not, you might even, add another one from the team that you see on Founders. Ideally, you develop then something with the help of our system. In a short period of time, we will have an AI business plan writer. We will have something that generates name and logo, to kickstart your project from zero within 3 days to like a project that already feels a lot more like something which has been developed over a certain period of time. So we want to accelerate ventures, ideally in no time, with the help of AI and also with the help of a tokenized cap table. So that's sort of pretty much where we stand today. So I would urge you to sign up on the platform Founders, connect yourself to the event, to cohort 1, that you're visible in this cohort. We will add now in the next 3 weeks a lot more advisors. We will add more co-founders, and try to team up with someone. If you don't have a team already, try to find projects where you connect around, and then it will all start on September 22nd. And the idea is that you develop these ventures on the platform over time with the help of contributors and people that could support the idea, and you pay them in equity, so you don't have to invest your own time, your own money, until you are at a certain stage where you can get this funded. That's the whole idea of the platform. At the moment, we can only remunerate people on the Founders platform that are co-founders, so there's no one-time contribution possible, but this will be obviously one of the next developments that we're going to do. So this is now more an explanation of how the platform is going to develop. If not everything is 100% available, in today. I think we will have early relaunch next week. Then forgive us, but it will be there for the start of the cohort on September 22nd. And the hackathon itself will be a 3-day hackathon from Friday to Sunday evening. On Monday, we will have a jury looking at all the projects and the submissions. And I think on Monday or on Tuesday, there will also be the decisions of the winner. So the idea really is to keep on going with these projects. If you like them, if you like your co-founder, if you've seen that in these 3 days, you could really generate something. And if it's a very good project, you obviously can also get funding up to 125,000. Which is comparable to the Y Combinator funding. Usually these Y Combinator projects are a little step further ahead than just a 3-day hackathon. And obviously we will not put 125,000 in a project where, you just met your co-founder 2 days ago. I mean, there needs to be a little more steadiness and a little more security also for the investor side. But there will be bounties. So if you win a category, I think it's like 5 to 10K of category winners. So we will ideally also get more bounties in over the next days. And there is also the potential of a small investment of 25,000 euros to against 3% of the company for teams where we see that it's especially outstanding, I'd say. There we obviously want to invest. So I think this is sort of the overall development of the product and the roadmap. If there are any questions, I'm very happy to answer these. I don't know if we now take questions or later on. What's the plan, Diksha?
We can take a few questions. That's okay. Or we can take it together as well. I think we don't have, so we'll just combine it.
Christian?
Yes.
Yeah, hi Christian, it's Derek. Thanks for the introduction. I wanted to ask a simple question. If let's say you're starting from an idea and you need a developer, Foundance would be a good source to have a co-founder who is a developer, a technical person.
Yes, I mean we are still in a beta phase with Foundance. So the idea for the platform is to onboard more entrepreneurs who are willing to build projects. One of the sources of the people on Foundance in general are hackathons. So people sign up for hackathons and go there. So they are usually very technical people. The challenge is that some of these are only sort of available for the hackathon for a couple of days, and then usually they need an interest to come back, so they need another project to come back. So it's the question is, try to approach these people. Yes, yeah, we will onboard these people to the platform with these events like we have here. And I think the ones onboarded onto the event also will obviously hopefully be available for the time framed September 22nd to 25th. That's the goal. But yes, there should be potential co-founders on the platform.
Hey, Tarek, it's Mark from Foundance here. I can see a couple of developers floating around on this. Very cool. Who you should introduce yourself to. I see Artem smiling right now. So they're here. They walk among us.
Okay, great. I didn't know that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Artem and who else?
Our Discord actually has a developers channel as well. So Discord is the place to be. And then
Okay.
also Foundance, if you want to connect to all developers. So thank you.
And maybe something I would like to explain on top is, we have the ability for each project to tokenize, so you have an idea, you can come to the platform and immediately tokenize your project. We suggest you will get an initial cap table of 100,000 tokens. So the idea of the token is that it really mirrors the ownership of the project. So if you're like 4 co-founders, we usually suggest to have an equal share, and the co-founders 25,000 tokens for each person. And the idea, the big challenge is always after the hackathon, how can we have people connected to the project and stay connected? So there, our solution is to remunerate every additional day that you're investing into the project with additional tokens, which obviously aren't worth anything, at the beginning. Obviously, it's just like an Excel entry on a table, on a file. So it doesn't really is not sellable, but it's your share of the project. And all the IP in our agreement, all the IP is also handed over to the project. So you are secure that, all the co-founders that are working on the project also handed over their IP into this contractual agreement. So the idea is really that you get an incentive to invest additional time into the project until the project has developed to an extent where everybody's happy and says, now we're ready to go to investors and ask for additional money. That's the whole purpose of our platforms.
Okay, so basically, if I understand you right, one of the first stages would be on Foundance. Just explain quickly what the idea is, and saying, let's say I need a developer for that who is interested, and try to connect during the hackathon also. I mean, creating something on Foundance, right?
Yes, I mean, ideally you have a team before the hackathon starts.
Okay.
On September 22nd, you need to have at least 2 people. Otherwise, you will not get, I mean, you can also start your project alone, no problem, but you will not get funding from us. So we only fund teams. And the idea is really to now get connected. I mean, we wanted to also have events where you have the ability to have a one-on-one with other people. I think we have, we will discuss another technology for this. There's obviously a couple of good ones out there. So, we will organize more meetings to team you up with your partners if you don't have one already.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I will have to actually interrupt now because then we can move to the rest of the questions at the end. So we have, just quickly, I'll take 30 seconds to introduce the 3 tracks that we have for the 22nd December hackathon, September hackathon. So we have AI and Web3 for venture development. We have AI and Web3 for good. And the third one is Web3 and identity. More details are on our website. And now, may I introduce Piotr to you. Hi, Piotr.
Hi, hello everyone.
So Piotr is our old friend, but for people who don't know you, Piotr, why don't you give us like a brief introduction and what is your role at Aleph Zero?
Sure, so once again, happy to meet everyone, happy to be here and share my knowledge. And I'm Piotr from Aleph Zero, ecosystem investment manager here. So we are layer 1 focused on privacy, with the fastest transaction in the whole space and one of the cheapest ones as well. We very focus on being compliant and private at the same time. And we got this EFP ecosystem funding program, which is 50 million size, to subsidize the growth of the ecosystem. So if you would ever be thinking about building something in this area, happy to talk to you guys and see you in our EFP program.
Thank you. So, a lot of people here are in the early stage of their projects. Some of them have participated in hackathons. Some of them are participating on our hackathon for the first times. So, what do you think is the relevance of a hackathon in forming a business idea or a startup idea? How can hackathons really help in forming that?
Yeah, so I think that the hackathons are a great opportunity to start a venture and test your idea. So I saw a lot of founders who've been attending the hackathons and in the end ended up as being just creating a venture. Of course, in most of the cases, it won't happen on your first hackathon. You have to get to know your team good and how to operate with them, etc. But it's really great opportunity to first start doing something, especially even while you still at your work and having wanted to start some side project. It's a great opportunity to get to know more people who are as well eager to start something. So even if you already have a team with which you are attending, it's an opportunity to meet more like-minded people and grow your team, etc. Next thing would be that around hackathons, you always got mentors. So let's say you'd be focused on one of those tracks or like one of the areas in Web3 or AI landscape, then you're able to ask all of your questions and get feedback around your idea, the product, the implementation from business and tech people who are attending hackathons to help you build your product during that as well. It's as a lot of hackathons got great organizers behind them, and of course a lot of partners. It's always a good way to connect with some investors and not only builders and some other people who along the way will help you structure your idea and make it grow until you actually can name it a product.
And if you are participating in a hackathon and your goal is like fundraising, so do you need to approach your hackathon project differently? And if yes, what are the things you should keep in mind if fundraising is your goal?
Yeah, so I think that first thing is that on a lot of hackathons, you got more than one track or one than more area around which you can hack. So if your goal is to actually make some product, it's best to just focus on just one area, one sponsor, and etc. Because the more focus you're gonna give towards like one thing you want to achieve, the easier it's gonna become. So a lot of teams are trying to build, for example, some solution which is based on different chains because different sponsors offering bounty around the same topic. So two layer one chains can offer bounty if you hack some DeFi product. But if you really think about making your hackathon idea a real venture, then you need to pick only one and be focused only on that. Thanks to this, you will be able to cooperate only with those mentors coming like from this one vertical. So you can just take much more knowledge from experts in this space you already committed to build on top on. So that's the one thing. The second thing is always good to look for specific hackathons and specific sponsors or organizers, because there's a lot of those, of course, in the market, but not all of them gives you some way to later on grow your idea. So if you have an opportunity and you know that some investors are behind the hackathon or like some accelerator setup is being involved in the hackathon, it's always gonna be much easier to have this chance later on and still be in touch after the hackathon ends and somehow get in such an accelerator program or start talking to investors so they can suggest you what to do, to gain even more of their attention. So I think, that would be mostly it. Also, one thing to remember is that your product just after hackathon is rather not really like war ready, and after like 5 or 10 days it's not really like MVP at which investors would look at. So it's very, very early stage. Then it's very important to also have some business people inside your team which will be able to explain what is like business idea and plan to go and develop further into the market and gain product market fit for your product, so investors can be even more interested. And especially like as I said, accelerators are a good fit here because they're taking ideas and founders on much earlier stage than just VCs who are already looking into some already working product, so which is hard to develop in a such short period of time.
And so, what are some of the success stories that you have seen in Web3, specifically ideas that emerged out of hackathons and they became, well-funded startups? And what do you think worked for these hackathon projects?
Sure. So currently I'm in Warsaw because just yesterday, that was the last day of ETH Warsaw, second edition. So first edition was launched the same time, so like around beginning of September last year. And there's one very good example about what you just asked, Diksha. So we as Aleph Zero sponsored this hackathon, and there was one team consisting of just 3 people, So also very small team, 2 developers and 1 business focused team member. And they won first prize during that hackathon. And now after the year, they are after closing their oversubscribed pre-seed round, which was 500K at 10 million valuation. Then done it, I think, around 6 or 7 months after winning this hackathon. So coming back here, that to actually have some product and something to offer to investors gonna take you much more than on this hackathon time and 5-10 days. But I think that the pace of like half a year to later on raise 500,000 is a extremely fast one, especially with such a small team. So big like bootstrap and big help for them. So they were able to do that was also like a grant which they received from us from Aleph Zero Foundation. And I see that somebody mentioned EFP in chat. So EFP is Aleph Zero Ecosystem Funding Program, consisting of grant committee, accelerator setup, and ecosystem fund. And I'm managing the ecosystem investments part here. So hopefully I answered the question from the chat as well. So yeah, for us, that was a very great team which we spotted on the hackathon. So quality of team was the first thing which we acknowledged. The second one was product market fit, because the product they developed haven't existed on our chain at the moment. So for sure that already had been very interesting idea for us. The product is from a segment of identity. It's like DNS for our chain. So like ENS for or unstoppable domains for Ethereum, for example, but with much more features which we couldn't see anywhere else. So even on day one, even if they had not like completed product, we could see that team is great, the idea is interesting, and we could see in a way to monetize it. And we could see that even if some similar products are based on other chains, they got a lot of more features which make them very special. And that's why we thought, okay, that's a team we could invest in. It was too early, so this grants and accelerator setup was super helpful then. Yeah, and after a half year, they raised their pre-seed round. Now they're raising their seed round at 30 mil valuation. So I believe this is very, very big success story coming from Hackathon, and it's not the only one. So I believe that's a really big amount of hackathons investors can see interesting products. The thing is that in a lot of the cases, there's lack of business thinking in the teams who are developing that. So it's not enough to like write some code. Unfortunately, you also have to like show it in a great way to people around, to judges, and etc. Because if other people who are looking at what you're doing can't understand it, then you can be sure that you won't get this chance to get an investment, get into the accelerator program, and etc.
Yeah, that's an interesting point actually, that you said that the business side is also equally important. And many times, we've seen hackathons where the pitch was so good and people won because of that, or how they were able to tell their story. So, what are some of the important things that you need to keep in mind when you're pitching and when you're presenting your idea after a hackathon that could attract more investors and bring your idea in the limelight of being investable?
Yeah, so around the pitch, I believe that it's actually pretty simple to make it, like when it comes to rules, but yeah, much more harder when it comes to implementation. But there's a lot of great guidelines on how to achieve pretty like clear pitch and show your idea in a good way. So the best source I think I know is DocSend. So like this is the software you later on use to put your pitch deck on in a cloud and share it with the investors. And you investors, when they want to check your deck, they have to let their email, and later on the platform is doing analytics on at which slides the investors are mostly looking at, how long they spend on it, and etc. Later on, then combining those informations with the ventures and founders who put in those decks there, so they can combine these informations with if they raised and how much they raised and etc. So there is very pretty straightforward way to do it, and I will share a link to this article with Diksha, so you all can see it. But just type DocSend in Google and how to make a pitch, and you should find it. So while being at very early stage, I believe that ventures should have no more than 18 slides, which seems like a best fit for investors at the moment. While you're at Hackathon, of course, it can be much less. So I think about like 10 or etc. But there are a few which are extremely important. So for sure, you want to show your team and why your team is great. What is your background? Why you are so interesting, and etc. So this is the slide on which investors are spending the most time on. That's why you need to polish it. You should start also with some opener, which is just your logo, and you should have one, so you just already looks better than those hackathon projects which got no logo, and this is Santa's case as well, so you already got additional points. And with some slogan, just a few words after I read, I can imagine what your venture is doing. And then the next two slides are problem and solution. So I already know that, okay, something is not working, and how you guys want to change it and make people's life easier. Then I need to see this team slide. So it's like problem, how to solve it, and why you are the people who are going to solve it. Because of course, not everybody gonna manage every problem which exists, right? And then, so that would be like three most important slides. Additional to that, you need to put what have you done around like this hackathon topic. So the topic was like, let's say Web3 and AI in some specific vertical. Okay, how I approach that and why actually my product is a fit to what organizers of hackathon ask, and why I like build around it, why it's interesting to me. So it doesn't look that I only wanted to hunt a bounty, but I'm actually very interested in this area. I want to develop further, and if I would get a chance to somehow still work on it, for example, by being enrolled into accelerator program, I would do it. So that's it. And then there will come like few business slides. So what is the market, for example? And it doesn't need to be existing market, because like, let's say that there is very big TAM for marketing, and you doing some new product. You can like take some small part of this, but there are like big companies out there, and you probably don't have any chance with competing with them, like Facebook or Instagram, whatever. But like these new areas like Web3 and AI, those are emerging markets which are still, in comparison to what we have in like traditional world and like the traditional tech, which are in comparison very, very small. If you launch something on such a small and emerging market, in the future, you got opportunity to be very, very big player, like a Facebook for ads now. So this is like this 0 to 1 kind of startup, of which Peter Thiel wrote a lot, for example. So yeah, that would be it. And then beside pitch, it's also, when it comes to hackathon, good to set up GitHub repo in a very, very clear way. So like technical judges can easily access all of you have done and developed during the hackathon. And beside that, I believe that during hackathon, some quick, like 1 up to 2 minutes demo video is very, very good as well. Yeah, so I think that would be it. And like from very generic tips, it's all like pitch is for you to have something behind you to tell about your idea. It's not about telling the whole story. You as a founder, you're telling the whole story. So the pitch is there only to help you. Then you need to focus more on visuals because they're catching eyes much more. And the average time of investor looking at a deck is around 2 minutes. So as you can calculate now in your head, nobody's really like looking at your deck very, very deep. Then better focus on visuals and put like the smallest amounts of words possible just to help you when you're gonna pitch during the demo day and etc. Yeah, and have like less than 50 words on each slide. And that's a metric I always like to pass to founders. So they really just focus on just showing that there is something and making like judges, investors interested, but making it to the first contact. And then as a founders, like telling the whole story behind the product. Yeah, so that would be it.
And since you've been in Web3, for a while, and Web3 particularly confuses people in terms of so many new things coming. So in 2023, right now, if a hackathon is happening, what are the kind of ideas that you would like to see out of a hackathon that you would be like, wow? I mean, especially looking at our 3 tracks, one is venture development, one is Web3, AI Web3 for good, and the third one is identity. So just give us like, a playbook of some ideas that you think would excite you at this point, or the
Yeah,
investment
so
community. Yeah.
sure. So like first thing could be that idea I have never seen anywhere else. So there would be no playbook. That probably would be the most interesting. Yeah, but beside that, like on the verticals of identity, so a lot of people are working with like zero knowledge proofs and NPCs technologies, which start becoming very crowded space because seems like everybody in like Web3 or even AI want to build around that, but still identity is a very big theme. And people, I believe, are becoming more and more concerned about their privacy, what they want to share in web and what's not, and like switching from some traditional messaging apps to some niche ones, which lets them embrace privacy more. Also, the idea from last It Warsaw Hackathon we invested in is built around identity, is the main domain system. So yeah, I believe to start working on any vertical, for sure it's good to start with competitor analysis. So if you want to build something around identity, first I would just do some research, what is already being built, what haven't been working in like let's say 3 years ago, and if it's possible to make this product work now because maybe tech developed somehow. And the name of this identity startup we invested in is Azure Domains, Azure ID, putting it in the chat so you can check it out. Yeah, so competitor analysis would be extremely important here, as you don't want to compete with some existing products like Peter Thiel is saying that competition is for losers, and I like this approach. So of course, in the end, you will have like a lot of competitors, but the thing is, you need to find some market when there is not a lot of other people building similar product, because of course it's getting harder and harder when you approach market this way. So you need to find your niche, and in Web3 or AI, it's still a lot of that. Also, next thing, good to focus on, I think, you actually can develop in this amount of time you want to, you can hack. So for example, you won't be able, when it comes to AI, do your own language model, probably. So maybe rather start using some API and build app on top of things which are already existing, like ChatGPT or whatever. Yeah. And then you can see that sometimes people are still trying to do new iterations of the same idea. So like with blockchain, for example, like 10th app around improving supply chain, but it's like every iteration, it's like 10% different than the previous one. And it doesn't make any sense, because for like investors, if you build some product which already got competitors, it needs to be 10 times better. Because if you now have an app like Zoom V2 or whatever, and it's not 10 times better, you won't switch to it, because you already get used to using Zoom on a daily basis. So that's why if you in the end want to compete with some existing players, you really need to come with such strong new value proposition that user, after looking at your product, will be in favor to change from Zoom to your app or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Actually, I have a question that last time a lot of hackathon participants had, and this is maybe something for Chris and you both to answer. So, people had this question that after the hackathon, they already have a pitch deck, they have an idea. Sometimes people also develop an MVP. And then, what is the right time for them to actually go and start pitching to investors? If they have an MVP, like, should they take care of legal things? Should they register? Like, all these kind of things they have. So, does it really matter to investors that all these things have happened with the startup? They are registered, they are legally okay, and all these things are in place, governance, etc.
Maybe I can answer here. I've seen a couple of teams that said, now I have a pitch deck, now I have 2 people on the team, so now I can start pitching to investors. Yeah. And I tell you, no. It's usually not possible with a pitch deck and 2 people on the team, unless you're, I don't know, the VP of, enhanced LLM models at Google to get money for this kind of status. I think investors are looking to invest in something that's already picking up speed. Yeah, I think what you need to develop is something that, it's a train that is already in motion, and investors like to jump on a train that is already in motion. If the train is, not even moving, investors usually will not invest in your venture, especially not in today's time. I think, even for us, it is hard to, make sales to LPs at the moment, because the money is really tight. Yeah, that's what we all see. So that is why we have developed these platforms to give you the time, to get your project to the next stage. You need an MVP, you need the team. The team has to be a perfect team. Yeah, it should be complete with at least the most important positions that you need to fill. is it 2 people, and is it a technical and a business person? Great. You know, if you can do most of this, I've seen a lot of great teams with 2 people, but it could also be 3 or 4. That's not a problem. But just a pitch deck after 3 days and like a not working MVP will probably not get you any money. That's my experience.
Piotr, do you have to add something to that? And then I'll take one question that's in the chat.
Yeah, so also not investors are the same. So it's very important for founders to do proper investor CRM, investor sourcing, and invest some time in research. Who can you approach? Because like some investors are at pre-seed stage, and for them it's okay. You like even if you don't have MVP or have MVP just developed, you don't really set it up, your legal structure, whatever. And some investors are as well early investors because Series A is also like pretty early stage, let's say, in venture capital, but they would demand already some metrics, users, and traction, product market fit coming from you. So very important is to check who you can approach. And yeah, if you are very, very early, probably the best way, if you can bootstrap on your own, is to join the accelerator program and work with mentors who can guide you through all of that stuff. So like incorporation, setting up your operations inside, helping hiring as well, and etc. And also, as Chris said, this market is in kind of bad conditions, so it's really hard to get funding. Then you need to commit really much more effort than you would need to do, like let's say 2 years ago, and it's extremely difficult to raise money at the moment.
Yeah, tough times, but we'll keep going. So, Hira, you have a question, and we would actually love if you ask it yourself, and that's why we
Yeah,
organized a closed session.
yeah, sure. I didn't want to interrupt that, so I was dropping
Also, introduce
questions.
yourself, please.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
just please introduce yourself as well.
Yeah, I'm Hira, and I'm a blockchain architect in Deutsche Telekom. I've been working in the identity space for around 4 years now, and I joined this hackathon because of some identity topics that I want to explore and maybe get some feedback on. The question is that at what point do you need a solid business plan? For example, like the traditional question, how will you make money? So in the start, should your focus be more on the tech, or from the start, you need to start thinking about whether the problem you're trying to solve would actually make some money or not? Because, you know, these are 2 very different kinds of mindset, and which one should you focus on first?
It's a very good question, because we even have in our team this discussion, you know, how important is the business plan? For me personally, traction is a lot more important than business plan. I mean, it has to be, there has to be a concept which makes sense. But, you know, if Google, you know, if the inventors of Google had thought about the business plan in the first place, you know, then I think it wouldn't have been such a great product. So it probably depends on the sort of the size of your venture. How big are you thinking? The bigger you think, the less important the business plan is going to be, as long, you know, as there is like some real value for everybody in the world. But obviously it would make sense if you could name at least the areas or sort of the way you want to make money in some point in time. But for me personally, if you send me like a 10-year business plan with exact numbers, you know, I think everybody knows the business plan is like the next week, the numbers will be different, and nobody can predict what's going to be in 5 years. It's more about, you know, can the assumptions be right that you believe in? You know, what's the market size? That's a very important one. What is the market size? I think a lot of startups don't understand this. You know, you need to define your market, and if you want to get money, then there is usually a certain market involved. Maybe you grow that market, but to try to understand how big your market is, and not just say it's I guess it's 5 billion or so. There should be some more information that helps a lot, and then try to make your future market share understandable. Why do you want to reach 30% market share? What are the biggest competitors there to get to that market? Do you have any entry barriers? Are you building USPs? I think these points are more important.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have another question, if it's okay with everyone.
Sure.
Sure. Just wanted to ask, yeah, if Piotr has something to add, but he can add it after your next question.
Okay. The next question I had was regarding the grants in the Web3 space that we have. So normally we have, like I've been looking into funding options, and there are two kinds. So there are accelerators that take some percentage of your equity and in return try to help you out with getting started. And then there are grants. So let's say you have an idea, maybe a simple MVP on your local machine, some pitch deck. At this point, most probably all of us would be at this point after the hackathon. Does it make sense to go for grants or accelerators? Like we already discussed that investors are not an option at this point.
Great question.
Piotr, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. So first thing, yeah, on the first question, I would agree with Chris. And if you do any plan and any calculations in Excel, when you start in a year, it won't be even near to what actually happened. So we're not like wizards, and we can't know how the future gonna look like. So the most important instruction, of course, if you can attract users, then you will be able to monetize it somehow. But yeah, it's good to already at the very beginning get understanding what is your market, how you want to get into this market and acquire users. And if people are using your platform, I think you're in a good position. So it's much better to have a product which people use than to have a great business plan and all of the metrics with platform which nobody actually joins. And when it comes to grants and accelerator, it's like two different things. You can do both of that. I actually see that most of founders I've met first get some grants, and of course then the question is like how big a grant you can get, because if you can get like $500,000 grant, you probably will be able to prepare for a pre-seed round, or maybe if it's some like very small product, maybe even for like seed round, let's say. But if you get 20K, then okay, it's good to like start bootstrapping and use these funds to leave your job, focus on your product, and start looking for accelerator setup, for example. So if you can combine it, that's probably the best setup. Then on the other hand, you also have to look like what kind of accelerator you would like to get in, and try to make the number of shares you will have to give up the smallest possible. And a grant here could be a good friend to you, because if you already got some funding, then you can negotiate with the accelerator that, okay, so I actually need much more help coming from mentors and etc. than this money coming from the accelerator, and maybe we can make some not standard deal coming from accelerator side. And when it comes to the grants, I think that's in Web3, like there's no other space like Web3 when you can have such a big grants. So at Aleph, we're doing grants up to like from 50K to $500,000 and not taking any equity or tokens. And later on, we got the investment arm and accelerator setup. But of course, if you want to go into direction of only focusing on grants at the beginning, it's the same what I said when we started the call. You have to commit to like only one direction. So only one chain, for example, and not like start building on 10 different ones. And also, if a grant is such a big one, you have to think why it's so. It's probably like bigger. You're taking bigger risk, right? Because maybe this chain just launched and there is not really a lot of users. So I can get bigger grant at the beginning, but there is less users than on Ethereum, Solana, or whatever. And okay, I can then grab a bigger part of a bigger share of a market, but it will be much harder to actually attract users because it's not 10K, but like 2K, for example. So you really need to think like, what is your burn rate and how much money you need to achieve your next big milestone, which unlocks you some new opportunities. And probably one of the most important will be pre-seed or seed round. So what you have to do to get there, and just calculate if you can do it with grants or you can do it with only with accelerator setup, for example.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Chris, would you like to add something here?
I think that was comprehensive.
So we have time for a few more questions, and if I don't find anything in comments or anybody raising hands, I'm going to ask the questions I have from others. So another question was about the team. How much importance does a team have when you are deciding hackathon winners? And the person says not hackathon, specifically hackathon winners, not like investable projects, but how much score is relevant or how important is this?
Duncan, do you want to jump in here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, our hackathons are different in some way. So just for those of you who don't know, I'm the group CTO behind Tsunami. Lots of experience over the many years in the industry. And I'll be one of the judges as well. And we'll be looking at, obviously, your projects. So I'm obviously on the technical side. The technology is always important, but we're at Tsunami themselves, and all our hackathons are perhaps slightly different than others. And the important part of it, what we're looking for, is not necessarily technical brilliance, as I would call it, but technical competence. Technical brilliance is always good. The technical competence, it gives you a long way. And entrepreneurial brilliance. That's the technical competence and entrepreneurial brilliance. So if your project is a very interesting project that has a complete chance or a very high chance of becoming a venture in its own, and something that we can see that we could fund and it could really stand behind, that will score higher than somebody who is technically brilliant, but actually not such a great idea in the first instance. So I think a lot of you have taken part in some of the other hackathons, perhaps, take it into account that technical brilliance is everything and solving something. We have slightly different take on it, and I'm an old school developer myself, taking part in many hackathons over the years, starting in the late 90s and 2000s and so on. And they were always a little bit about flexing your dev muscles, hey, I'm a cool developer, look what I can do. I think the times have evolved. These days, there are a different perspective on this as well. But also, we now live in a remote world. We all want to have a ability to work from home, to create ventures potentially remote. And that's what we believe at Tsunami at the end of the day, that we can democratize venture building and venture creating. And that could be a hackathon user from Congo and Paris and South America and all together, and form a venture that still works as a venture and is still investable. So that's the more important aspect of scoring than anything else.
Thank you, Duncan. Chris, you have a few words to add on the team aspect?
Yes, I mean, maybe more about the difference of, why we think we are different. If you go to Y Combinator, I think Y Combinator had 45,000 applications with sort of finished or ventures, which were obviously in a little later stage than a hackathon project after 3 days. A lot of them already see some traction. From these 45,000 applications, I think 42,500 were directly rejected. So you get the chance in Y Combinator, the best sort of 2,500 teams in a year get the chance to go to San Francisco, go to New York, go to these places, live there for 3 months, and then work on this. I think that this is, there should be a more inclusive way of starting ventures in this world. I think the blockchain gives us the opportunity to really build the best teams possible out there. Meaning, if you really want to succeed in venture building and you want to start a venture in a certain space where you have special knowledge, there might be a very, very good person somewhere, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in the same city. It could be somebody in a university where they really are eager to, develop in this field, or it could be a special entrepreneur from another side of the world who has, done this already, or it could be an advisor. So I think you have a lot more flexibility to develop these ventures from home. You have a lot more flexibility to, do it maybe next to your normal work. Just don't believe that this is an easy task. Yeah. 90% of all the projects fail. And that's why investors are so reluctant to invest their money, because they know 90% of the projects fail. So we will not invest money, into something which is not outstandingly good, especially in these markets here. So that is where we have to go to. You have to get to the level where the team is outstandingly good, and the project itself, and ideally we see some sort of first user feedback, where they say, well, that was really cool, it helped us.
Makes sense. So Piotr says he has to leave, and we have time for one question if anybody has. Otherwise, I'm going to take the question we were sent. Okay, so this is for you, Chris. With your experience of founding different startups, what is that product idea that you think will get you excited, and Tsunami will invest in it? Or what is that hackathon idea that will make you excited, or you'll be like, wow, this is what we've been looking for in Tsunami cohorts?
That's a very good question. And, we have actually almost found a solution for this, that we want to, onboard experienced entrepreneurs exactly for that idea finding process into our cohorts. Yeah, because from cohort 0, I've seen that, there were a lot of ideas from the beginning on where I said, probably a difficult market for whatever reason. I mean, I'm a little bit experienced, but I mean, obviously, also in different markets, it's always very hard to predict what's happening. I remember for like 25 years ago, I wanted to, have the first online doctor service in Germany. And it's all about timing for a lot of these ventures. And 25 years ago, it was definitely too early. It's like 20 years later they started to develop. So it's a lot about timing. It's a lot about the market, understanding of the market, and what would get me excited? That's a good question. I believe that if you look at the sort of if you look at the technologies, Web3 and AI, they both get me excited. So Web3 gets me excited because I believe, there is a lot there. There's what especially excites me about Web3 is the borderless part. You can actually, we could theoretically scrap everything that's already here, and like not look at anything, not look at legislation, borders, and languages. We could say, we're humans here, and we're sort of building something new with the help of the blockchain. That excites me in a way. I would like to reinvent this world in a way. For example, if you look for the greater good, or what else excites me? I think the use of AI excites me a lot. I think the big problem is what is being built at the moment with AI is, built as a sort of a wrapper, meaning you're building some interface to ChatGPT, and at some point in time, if ChatGPT doesn't like you anymore, you could just be thrown out. And then building some additional value, maybe collecting the data about your customers, or having this data set, the biggest data set in the world for this special use case, that is valuable. Because LLMs, if they are all about the data and their input. So if you own the biggest data set to run these, that is really valuable. So I think it's very hard to answer this in 2 sentences.
Yes, and that's why we will have ongoing events, but that was inspiring, Chris. And I hope all of you also got a little inspired for our upcoming hackathon. Keep thinking, keep talking, keep discussing things with us in Discord. We'll be onboarding a lot of new mentors this coming week. And if you have any ideas for events, workshops, masterclasses, please write to me on Discord. And we will continue this conversation. Thank you, everybody, for joining. It is not bye bye, it's like let's meet next time. And thanks, Chris. Piotr already left, so thanks to him also. He could take out time to talk to us. And thanks, everybody, for joining.